morning, here we go. We're going to talk about our second week of quarantine work. You all should have your lessons that I sent to you through Teams. Walk you through this one. I'll try to post one video per week that'll get us through, and then we'll talk about it every Wednesday during our class time. So let's think about where we've been. We started out with our country that was divided at the end of World War II, at the end of the Civil War. And then from the Civil War, we went to the Reconstruction Era. From Reconstruction Era, everyone moving west. Then from moving west, establishing itself. We had the Spanish-American War, establishing the United States as a world power, or as a power in general. And then from there, entered into what was then the Great War, which became known as World War I. Our last unit before we ended up coming home, or having to teach from home, was dealing with the Great Depression in the Roaring '20s. It's, sort of like the Charles Dickens book that begins, it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. The 1920s began great, and then by the time we got to the end of the 20s into the 30s, we were dealing with the Great Depression. Last week I asked you to get started on the assignment by looking at World War II dictators and who would set the tone for the transitions that were being made. But let's think back a little bit. After World War I, the United States wasn't the only country dealing with the issues of the Great Depression. You also have to throw in there too, and we watched a video on it before we had to come home, the Spanish flu, or the fluid pandemic that took place in 1918. Again, that pandemic killed 50 million people. Fortunately, we've have some medicine and we've come a little bit further along in this day and age, but still any loss of life is totally unnecessary or is disheartening. So here we are transitioning. Everyone around the world is trying to do well. 1930, 1932, 33, 34. But let me set the scene for you. I'm in the textbook. If you have your textbook open, I'm on page 568. And again, in dealing with this unit, if you take a look here at the PowerPoint slide, okay, I'm on page 568 using your textbook. But if you take a look at the PowerPoint slides, you read here, what were some of the feelings in Europe after World War I? Well, Germany and Italy were both unhappy with the decisions made at the end of the war. Well, what were those decisions? Well, Germany's going to end up being blamed for the war, and Italy's going to have to deal with some of the repercussions of that as well. We know that during the war, the Russians ended up leaving because they had to deal with their own revolution. So as they developed their communist theories and their communist government, communist Russia wanted to spread their ideology throughout their own country. Okay, we're going to talk about Joseph Stalin here in a minute. And then finally, not only was there a depression in the United States, but that depression was felt all throughout Europe and also in Germany. All right. So right now, it's right around 1930. And let me set the scene real quick. I'm reading from the textbook, actually going into 1936. Let me come back to that. Let's take a look at our dictators first before we get to 1936. Last week you worked on the periodic activity on dictators. There were four major dictators. You should have watched the video. If you watched the video, that's good. Gave you a good idea of who you were dealing with and what you were dealing with. You may have never heard of this last guy here, who is Franco, but let me talk to you about these three real quick. Joseph Stalin from Russia was probably one of the most feared men of any of the dictators at that particular time. One of my favorite movies is a movie called The Bronx Tale. And in that movie, the character Kolodino, who's a young man, a little boy who gets involved with the mob or lives on the street and there's a big mob gang there. Anyway, long story short, Kolodino asked one of the mob guys one day, is it better to be feared or to be loved? And that's a tough question. But when you think about it, that same question could pertain to this guy right here. Stalin was either feared or loved by the Russian people. if you went against the grain or did not agree with his ideology, he killed you. Plain and simple. You talk about the movie The Purge, and yeah, I'm sure you've all seen those videos, movies. I think there's 3 or 4 of them. This guy was the original Purge king. He would just ransack his country, going through anyone that disagreed with his political views or ideology would have been killed. And the numbers are phenomenal. I think it was somewhere in the millions when we talk about Stalin. And I'm sure you read about him and found out about him in working with you and reading in your textbook. But he was very revered, but he was also feared. Second gentleman here is Benito Mussolini. His nickname was El Duce. Mussolini was a man who practiced machismo. He was a man's man, okay? He wanted to be seen. He wanted to be heard everywhere he was. Very loud, very outspoken. And had a real unique relationship with, friendship-wise, with this guy right here, Adolf Hitler. Almost one and the same. They admired each other. As a matter of fact, the German salute that you normally see originally began with the fascist party in Italy. And Hitler kind of stole that salute and used it well. Just a real eerie relationship there, because it starts out good, and then as the war goes on, we're going to find out when we get into the war, it's going to fall apart. He's going to be placed in jail. Then he comes back and works for Hitler under Hitler in Italy and tries to make some of Italy a Nazi Italy, believe it or not. But just a very strange working relationship between the two. And then finally, Francisco Franco, who you would have learned about, was from Spain. We hear a lot about these 3 historically, but traditionally we don't know much about Franco, and that's why I had you watch the short video. However, the most infamous or the most well-known of all those dictators was this man here, Adolf Hitler. I think we all know somewhat about him. I'm not going to go into great depth because it's American history, but you know, background-wise, you know, historically people say that some of his lineage or some of his, I think his grandparents were of Jewish descent, grew up in Austria, okay, wanted to go to art school, all right, was an aspiring artist, and then the war came. He fought in World War I, was injured, but was very upset with what took place at the end of the war and how the Germans were blamed for the cause of World War I, and he took it to heart. He was very charismatic at a young age, and as he, you know, worked his way up through the ranks, earned people's respect. You know, it's interesting. Those that can orate or speak well also seem to tend to draw those that seem to follow them, and that's what's going to happen here with Hitler. And as he gained the trust of people in Germany, more so to the point where he also gained the trust of the chancellor, who was like the president of Italy, of Germany, he is eventually going to just take the throne or take control and have it passed to him directly, and then we all know what transpires from there. That's what leads us to the setting of the scene. So this gets us up to like 1936. And I'm going to read from my textbook real quick. You can follow along or just listen. It says, in September of 1936, German dictator Adolf Hitler called hundreds of thousands of followers to a week-long rally in the German city of Nuremberg. Included with political meetings and parades was a nightmare ceremony, the oath, under the cathedral light. There was over 180,000 people there, and it was amazing. Amid the waving of the 180,000 people, there were circling searchlights, banners, and Hitler led an audience with his holy oath. It was a grand spectacle. The Nuremberg Party rally was essential to Hitler's totalitarian rule. We heard that word before, totalitarian, total rule. There's only going to be one ruler in place. A totalitarian government exerts total control over the nation. It dominates every aspect of life, using terror to suppress individuals' rights and silence any of those who opposed. The pride and unity of the Nuremberg rally left the fact that people who disagreed with Hitler would be silenced, beaten, or even killed. Hitler's power rested on the destruction of the individual. Hitler in Italy's Benito Mussolini, as you can see right there, governed by a philosophy called fascism. Fascism emphasized the importance of the nation or the ethnic group and the supreme authority of the leader. The Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin based his totalitarian government on a vicious form of communism, where he started purging, and we talked about that. Like fascism, communism relies among strong dictatorial governments that does not repeat individual rights or freedoms. Historically, however, communism and fascism have been fierce enemies. But at this particular time, they're going to rule. You're going to find that fascism, Nazism are pretty much one and the same and very similar to each other as we get more into detail. All right? So let's take a look here. So this brings us to 1936. Hitler is going to come pretty much to power in Germany in 1933. Let me read something to you, read along just to get you up to date. Then we'll get to this Olympic piece in 1936. But I want to go back. I'll keep this picture up here real quick. I'm on page 571. How does Hitler come to power? And I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I think it'll help you understand what was going on. So if we stopped in 1933 with the Great Depression, this is what was going on in Germany. Okay? Hitler had been placed in jail. While in jail, he wrote his autobiography called Mein Kampf. Okay? It was in defiance to the Versailles Treaty, which said that Germany should be blamed for World War I. Mein Kampf becomes this book that just discusses how he feels. He also called for the purifying of the Aryan race, blonde hair, blue eyes. What trips me out is this Joker wasn't even blonde haired and blue eyed. But he thought that the perfect man, perfect woman, perfect race would have been blonde haired and blue eyed. So as he works his way up through 1932, Hitler becomes a chancellor. Here's what happens. Hitler promises to gradually won him a great amount of respect in Germany. In 1932, he was placed second in command after World War I in a presidential election. In January of 1933, the elderly President Hindenburg, who was president of Germany at the time, made Hitler chancellor or head of the German government. Hitler soon moved to suspend freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and thousands of Nazi thugs called stormtroopers or brown shirts waged a violent campaign that silenced those who opposed Hitler. This was 1934. Germany had been awarded the Olympics for 1936, and although it was to be a great piece of sport and gala, Hitler saw it as a chance to show the world what would be going on in Germany. Now, we look back on the pictures I'm going to show you in hindsight. We're like, man, they got swastikas all over the place. Why did people know? They didn't know because they didn't know. Yeah, there was some grumblings about what he was doing, but there was, people want facts. And there was no cold-hearted facts about what was going on. So as we move forward, 1936, they called them the Nazi Olympics. We're going to get into that. But you're going to, in the PowerPoint that you have and on Microsoft Streams, take a look at the video. Hit the link, watch the video, okay? And then we'll get back to it. I'm going to keep teaching now from that aspect. This is Berlin Stadium. It still is in existence today in Germany. At the time, it was state-of-the-art. It was the largest stadium in all of the world. Okay? This video that you're going to watch is going to talk about those Olympics. But let me give you a brief overview. Okay? The 1936 Olympics are going to be known as the Nazi Olympics. That's what's in hindsight after it's done, because it was basically putting the Nazi regime on display to the world. Okay? Hitler used the Olympics as the perfect opportunity to demonstrate the powers of what's going to become known as the Third Reich. So here's some interesting facts about Olympics. Now, I'm a sports fan, and I don't know how many of you are, but when we think about the Olympics, the first thing you think of, Greek gods, the Olympics, Mount Olympus, Achilles. Nike, goddess of victory, all that stuff there. The Olympics, for the first time in 1936, were going to be broadcast on television, radio, 41 different countries all over the world. The Nazi regime built this brand new stadium, state of the art. They had the boards, they had a gymnasium, they had smaller arenas. They were ready to show the world that not only were they going to be dominant athletes, but they were a dominant country. So, on August 1st, 1936, Hitler's going to open the Olympic Games, the 11th annual Olympic Games in Berlin. Now, it's funny that here we are so many years later, 1920, we're supposed to be having the Olympics this summer. Unfortunately, with COVID-19 and Corona, they're being pushed back. But if any of you ever watched the Olympics and the big ceremonies, the pre-ceremonies and the post-ceremonies, they always light the Olympic torch. Believe it or not, that tradition was not something that was always done. That tradition was started by Adolf Hitler, unfortunately, and we kept it. It's a great tradition, but it's sorry to say that he was the guy that created it. So what they did for this Olympics was they took the torch from Mount Olympus and they lit it, and they ran from Mount Olympus, sort of like a relay, they call it the torch relay, all the way to Germany. And you're going to see in the video, if you haven't watched it already, you'll see that's when they lit it. And that tradition has been kept ever since. Now people say, oh, how the heck do they do it now? You know, if the Olympics are in Japan or they got to go across seas, the torch now is done with propane. So, you know, when it's on a plane, they have to carry it on a boat, they turn it off. They light from place to place, and then the tradition was to light the flame of the torch, or the flame, let it burn throughout the Olympics, and they put it out. It's a great tradition, and give credit to the Germans for bringing it about, because it is truly symbolic. So it was Germany that began the Olympic ritual of the lone runner bringing the torch and lighting the Olympic flame. This is a picture of the German athletes carrying that Olympic flame, okay, taking it to the stadium. And if you take a look in the background, there they go, all these swastikas. And everyone's just thinking, that must be the new German flag, but we come to find out that the swastika now has a whole totally different meaning, okay? It's another great picture that day. And look, you know, I'm a big picture guy, and I look, I'm always like, who took the picture? What happened afterwards? This kid right here, what he end up doing in life? Did this guy end up having to go fight in World War II? Did he survive? Did he not survive? Everyone's, you know, the salute. The German fans saluting. Even other fans were there saluting as well. One of the interesting things they had for the ceremony when they came in, they're going to watch it in one of the videos, people just, out of respect, you know, the Americans, we salute, okay? This was the German salute. But some countries refused to give the German salute to Hitler as they paraded around the stadium, and you'll get to see that in the video. Here's another picture right before the torch was going to be lit at the games, and German soldiers on the infield of the stadium. And this would have been a picture of downtown Berlin during the war. And again, it's just Olympic flags and swastikas. You know, have you known, you know, how they say hindsight is 20/20. But my goodness, that flag comes to represent a lot of negative things. I'm going to show you this video here. I'm going to show this one to keep us on. And it's kind of funny because everybody, we talk about sneakers and how important sneakers are. And if you remember, we talked about the situation a couple months ago. We were talking about Jim Thorpe and how he had to pull shoes out of the trash can. Well, I think you'll find this story particularly interesting as well when dealing with Jesse Owens and his Olympic shoes. Just like the classroom, try and pull these up. Now I know the sound won't be good, but I'm gonna let it run. And then this video is also found in my Teams stream page. So when you go to Teams, You go up top on the banner, I'll show you at the end. All my videos are in there for you to watch and see. But this is pretty funny. You probably won't hear the sound as I'm playing it, but I'm gonna let it run for 2 minutes. That way I can, and then we'll keep the class going. But this is the story of Jesse Owens.
The Olympics were in Germany, Berlin, Germany. It's 36, and the Nazis are running the show, right? And then we sent over.
Oh, hold on.
Jesse Owens, the fastest man alive. Yeah, he was like the secret weapon in the 36 games. So Jesse goes to the Olympics in 1936 and suits up. Now here's a sidebar. Not all Germans were Nazis, okay? There was some good, there was this one dude named Adolf II. Not Adolf, like Adolf as well. Anyway, his name was Adolf Hitler, and he didn't want to kill people and be a Nazi. He just wanted to make shoes. That's what his parents did. His parents made shoes. He wanted to make shoes. And at night, when everybody would go to sleep, Adolf Hitler, him and his brother would sit in the kitchen. He would cook up a batch of track shoes. This is before you could cook up meth. So Adolf Hitler, he and his brother, they're in the shoe business, and they know they need somebody famous to wear their shoes to get more people to buy them. So Adolf Hitler gets in his truck and he drives down to Berlin and he introduces himself to Jesse Owens. He's like, "Hey, Jesse, my name is Adolf, and if you wear my track shoes, I'll be very, very happy. And you don't even have to call me Adolf. All my good friends call me Adi. That's my nickname, Adi Dassler. In fact, if the company goes, I'm not going to call it Adi Dassler. We're going to tighten that up, just call it Adi Das. Adidas. That's where that got started. Absolutely. So Jesse Owens puts on some Adidas shoes and just bang, just whooped some ass. I would have loved to have seen Hitler's face when they lined up at the track for the first one. Hitler's like, "Now we will show them how the white man does it." He's good. Jesse Owens wins 4 gold medals in the Olympics. That's just fantastic. God bless Jesse Owens for showing up, right? A black man in a stadium full of Aryan Nazis. There's some stress right there, right? You're lined up and you're like, holy crap, this is a stadium full of people that want to kill me. If I hear a gun go off, I'm gonna bang, I'm running. He's hopping walls, whatever it needs to. I'm gonna go back to the airport, okay? I think I'm done.
Kind of funny. And again, if you watch it, when you're done watching it, you exactly see what I mean. So, interesting piece about the Adidas relation to what transpired in the sneaker world back in 1936. Let's get back to our piece here. A lot of you know we're talking about Jesse Owens. 1936 becomes famous for it was the Jesse Owens Olympics, is what Americans referred to it as. Jesse Owens was an African American male from Cleveland, Ohio. Ran track in high school, then went on to run track at Ohio State University. The interesting thing, I always say, we know about education. African Americans weren't allowed to live on campus, so Jesse couldn't live on campus. He had to be off campus by 6:30 p.m. But he's going to end up going to the Berlin Olympics and winning 4 gold medals. And that was unprecedented at that particular time. Just one of the greatest athletes of all time. And just some interesting things as you watch the videos that I have put up here. One, you're going to watch the video on the Nazi Olympics. We just watched the video on how Jesse Owens wore Adidas. Those would be the original Adidas track shoes. And then you're going to watch a documentary which goes for this week's assignment. And that documentary has to deal with the story of Jesse Owens. Now, if any of you want to get some extra credit at some point, if you want to email me, you can watch the movie Race, which deals with the life of Jesse Owens, and I have some questions and answers that can go with it. I'll talk more about that in class on Wednesday if you end up watching the video before Wednesday. But let me get through some things here. So your assignment for this week, you're going to watch a video called More Than Gold. It goes about 43 minutes. I have the link in there. It tells the story of the 1936 Olympics, particularly pertaining to the story of Jesse Owens. Okay? And it's interesting because this was like, again, the Great Depression was going on, but it's still some good going on in the world. You know, everyone gets excited for the Olympics because shortly after the Olympics in 36, by 1938, the world is going to be at war again. So this is like the good part of the chapter of the unit, because then we get to death and destruction in World War II. I'm reading directions here. So again, you have this handout, it's in Teams, but let me read through. So the lesson is watch the video. Or while you're watching the video, you're going to be a person that has gone back into time. You know, or back into time, and you're going to be on Twitter. Now, some of you may not have a Twitter account or understand what Twitter is, but I'm going to explain the project to you. Okay? So you're going to go back into time, and you're going to tweet to the world about the 1936 Olympics. You will first create a Twitter character and a Twitter name. It can be you. It could be something fictitious. If it were me, I'd probably be doing Coach Joe or something like that. But I'll show you on the screen next shot here what I'm talking about. You're going to get a Twitter template, which you should have in your teams. You can print that. I highly recommend you print that. Or you can try to finagle it to put text boxes in there. But I'd rather you try to print it to work on it. In the upper right-hand side of the paper, you will find 3 historical people related to this event. They can be from the Olympics, and I'll explain that. And you're going to give them Twitter handles. This just shows me that you are watching the video and you know who these people are. Now, on a separate document, whether it be word or writing, you're going to take and research those 3 people and just write a short paragraph about who they are and what they accomplished during the Olympics and after the Olympics. I'll explain. Along the left margin of the handout, which you're going to see here in a second, is a paper of 7 trending hashtag lines. Trending. Trending is what's popular, what's going on. Like right now, if you look at something and talk about what's trending, people might be talking about COVID-19. Then they might be talking about the medicines for COVID-19. Something else that might be trending today is Sunday was the concert that was performed last night. So trending things are things that are taking place at that time, okay, that are, you know, current in the news. And you'll see that on the handout. Okay. Then, while you watch the video More Than Gold, the Jesse Owens in the 1936 Berlin Olympics, you're going to create 6 tweets that have to deal with something that happened during the 1936 Olympics that you would think had been Twitter worthy. If you remember, I like to call them wow factors. So you're going to pick a person, just like it were Twitter, and you'll see what I'm talking about, and then make a tweet about something you saw in the movie. It's a pretty fun project, and I'm going to use it as a test grade. The Twitter sheet will be due this Friday. In the box, place a meme or a picture or a drawing of who would have made the tweet. The Twitter template is attached to the assignment in Teams. When done, take a picture, upload it. You can send it to me in Teams, or you can try to send it to me via email. I prefer that you send it to me in Teams, okay? So with that being said, this is what your sheet looks like, all right? So let me explain to you how this is going to work. So right here would be your 3 people from the 1936 Olympics that you would follow. Now, if you want to find a picture of them and cut and paste it in there, or try and draw your own picture in there, however you want to get it in there, be creative as possible. And then you would put a Twitter handle for them. So if you were to choose, and I have a list of characters here, one of the characters is a gentleman named Avery Brundage, and Avery Brundage was the head of the AAU. So if I were to make a creative character up for Avery Brundage, it might be, his Twitter handle might be at AAU leader. And that would be his Twitter handle. Okay? But you can come up with anything creative. Base their Twitter handle off of something they may have accomplished. So you're going to have 3 people that you would have followed during the 1936 Olympics. If you pick Hitler, hey, you pick Hitler. You could be at Nazi, at Nazi leader. That would be, I couldn't think of anything else, okay? Or just try to make sure you keep it clean. I don't need anything derogatory or anti-Semitic or something like that. But come up with something creative. You can't use these 2. I'm just trying to be quick and easy, all right? So you would then take these 3, and on a separate sheet you can write or type, prefer you type up, you're going to give me a short paragraph about the 3 people that you would have followed during the 1936 Hitler Olympics. Right here are those 7 trending topics. Again, there are hashtags and then events that took place, or I was referring to them as wow factors. So you would just put those, each hashtag equals 1. Now your paper's a little bit blurry, even mine is when you get here, but those would be the 7 events, okay? Right here at the top in that of a template there, you put a picture of yourself. Put your real name here so that I know who's handing it in. And that leads me to everything. When you guys email me assignments, in the subject line, make sure you put your name and the subject in the topic or the assignment, because I'm getting assignments. The only reason I know it's the name is because of the email comes in, but when I go to save it, I got to go back and look. So put your name in there if you email it to me. Anyway, put your name here and then a creative Twitter handle here. Okay? And then as you watch the movie or the documentary, boom, you're putting up your tweets. Okay? You're putting up your tweets. And then whoever that tweet would have came from, you would put a picture of them or something that symbolizes them or a meme, and then what their Twitter handle would be, and then the comment that they would make. All right? So that's how that's going to work. I will also explain that to you more in depth during Wednesday's class if you do sign in synchronously. If you don't sign in, shoot me an email, okay? Let me get rid of this here before I go to my next slide. All right, so that's what that looks like. You have there's a document in the attachments on Teams that you can print. This one is within the PowerPoint. If you want to try and do it within the PowerPoint, and you think you can get it working that way, by all means, go ahead and do it, and then just turn it in that way. We'll make it work. This is due at the end of the week, 100 points. Okay? So with that being said, here are some of the possible people you could use for the Twitter assignment, whether they would be 3 that you would follow or ones that made Twitter comments. I'm not going to tell you who they are. I'm just going to say their names. Marty Glickman, Louis Zamperini. Now, some of you might know Louis Zamperini if you watched a particular movie, and maybe we can discuss that on Wednesday if you know who he is. Adolf Hitler, okay? John Lysick, Iris Cummings, obviously Jesse Owens, Herb Douglas, Joe Louis, Avery Brundage, Luke Sloan. And if there's anyone else in there while you're watching that you end up understanding or want to use, you can use them. You can use them as well. Okay? Here's a link to the video. 1936 Olympics, More Than Gold, Jesse Owens. It's in there. Click the link. If you have a hard time finding it through Teams, I'm trying to get that to work. You can go ahead and just Google search it. It's going to be on the NBC Sports website. And when you get to it, it's going to look like this. Okay? That's the video right there. All right? And then as it picks up, you know, you can go to full screen and watch the video. Okay? There's Adolf Hitler, and you'll understand who he is later if you get here and watch. Then also, you have access to video on my stream page. So real quick, let me show you something real quick. If you open up Teams and you go to the stream, Microsoft Streams, you can go to Mr. Heaton's page. I got 2 channels. And the one you're going to see is Mr. Heaton. Okay? And then I've been uploading videos from my lectures in there. And this, if you're not familiar with streams, it works kind of like YouTube, to be honest with you. But it's just all the videos that I put in there. You can see I put Jesse Owens start sneaker craze. That was the video we're talking about. Here's the video on the Nazi Olympics. You won't be able to get to the video for the documentary from streams only because it was a little too long. All right, but all this content is on your Teams, and the assignments are in there as well for this week. Okay, and then I did put a template. The template of the Twitter is there, and that's actually on there for the project. Okay, and then if you take a look, I want to show you something on Teams real quick. When you do get to your Teams page and you want to access, let's just go back, and you want to access, you can type in, even when you click on it, it can go right to streams and you can go to the videos from there. Or I'll use 7th period here. If I'm in 7th period, right across the top, I just hit the drop down and it goes to Mr. Heaton's videos. Okay, but let me show you, here's your assignment. Guys, when you open your assignment this week, everything will be right there. Yours will look like this. Here is the template, and then here is the PowerPoint. If you want to go to the videos, just hit the drop down, click on U.S. History Videos. Once you click on U.S. History Videos, okay, you just, it failed right now, but you can go there. The easiest way to go and watch the video is just clicking on streams and then going to Mr. Heaton's videos. All right, guys, try to be quick with it. I think this is the way I'm gonna work. I'll get better at the videos, trust me. They won't be as long, but I try to get the details so we don't have to do that much during the week. And I like the weekly assignments. This probably would have took us a week in school anyway, between us doing CNN 10, which you don't have to do, the videos 2 days, me explaining it, and you handing it in. So we're going to probably do about a project a week, 1936 Olympics, Jesse Owens. I hope you learned something. Listen, be safe, try to have fun with it. Don't drive yourself crazy with all your work. Spend time with your family. And I'll see you on Wednesday in class. And then look forward to you guys keeping your work going. Did a good job last week. All right, take care and keep it real.